Hi, I'm Caden, here with my brother,
Cal,
and you're listening to Eating W's.
eat the W.
That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W.
So, on today's episode of Eating W's, we have our NFL Week 14 recap, and I think we can just jump right into it. So, starting off, we had the Thursday night game with the Steelers heading to Minnesota to take on the Vikings, and the Vikings picking up a win. Let's go. Now, granted, it should have been an absolute blowout, and it turned out into a close game, but that's just Vikings football, baby. I mean, if it's not entertaining, it's not Vikings football, because they're going to make you have a headache till the last second, no matter which team you're on.
Zimmer even said in his press conference, that we like to have good TV ratings. We do that every week. Or
We
something
do.
like that.
I mean,
and it's like, wow, is the coach actually worried about TV ratings? I don't know. I feel like he should have bigger
the
things to worry
first
about.
season of Vikings football where I'm not pretty sure, I am 100% sure it has literally taken years off of my life from stress. Because every single week I end the game with a headache, win or loss, no matter how good we play, every week I end with a headache.
And even though it was 29 nothing at one point, or 29-3,
I never had to worry that I wasn't going to end the game with a headache. I knew that we were going to do that.
Even though I'm sending you memes of like the Simpsons one where he's like, "Stop, just stop."
Exactly.
He's already dead. Because I thought, man,
No.
they're almost embarrassing him. And it's a good thing you guys didn't stop.
I'm far too experienced of a Vikings fan to not realize what was going to happen in that second half. But no, we played super well. Dalvin Cook, of course, came out, wasn't even sure if he was going to play, and dropped 205 yards and 2 touchdowns, so that was awesome. One big thing I noticed was the Kirk Cousins to Justin Jefferson connection really seemed off. He still had 7 catches, 80 yards or something like that.
But he had 15 or 16 targets.
That's pretty good that an off game is 80 yards and 7 catches. But exactly, he had 15 or 16 targets, and it was not on Justin Jefferson. The one interception to him that he probably could have caught, but was bad because it was tipped right before it got to his hands, so it's so hard to adjust to that. But that's a little bit on both sides and more of just a good play by the defense. But there was 3 or 4 other nuke plays, 40, 50-yard plus plays that could have ended in touchdowns, where Kirk Cousins just straight up missed Justin Jefferson. That's really weird because I know some people are against Kirk, but I'm on the Kirk Cousins train. I really like him. I think he's been playing well, so it sucked to see him miss those throws. But everyone has their off weeks. After coming off such a huge week, maybe they were just off a little bit trying to force it to him. I think next week there's a good chance we get Thielen back maybe, and maybe we won't try to force it to him as much, and that will help the connection. But I'm not too worried.
I think that could be why with Thielen out. I don't know. I mean, Osborne's good, but it doesn't seem like Kirk has the trust in Osborne that he does with Jefferson or Thielen, which is obvious. I mean, you look at the talent and the longevity, but when you only got the one instead of 2 options,
Yeah. And early head slap of the week for this game. Chase Claypool getting up and worrying too much about his bow and arrow celebration.
Or whatever, I don't know how he does
to
it, but yeah.
get the ball to the line of scrimmage as the clock was ticking
Less
down.
than 60 seconds left. Clock's running. It's the first down, and you're down. What were they down? They needed a touchdown. I think they were down 6 or 8. They were down 8, and he gives a first down. While the clock's running, because that's important.
Yeah.
I'm all for the having fun, the taunting, the celebrations. I think that's great. However, have some situational awareness sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen receivers grab that ball when it's on the ground and put it where it needs to be. You need
or
to
hand
have
it
that
to the ref.
awareness.
Get up,
Exactly.
hand it to the ref, because they're the one that has to set the ball anyways. So.
And it gave Eric Kendricks, the smooth criminal, just enough time to grab the ball out of his hands and drop it behind him.
Oh.
And it perfectly rolled away. It was so beautiful
Just
to see.
enough that it wasn't a delay a game.
If Claypool hadn't done the stupid celebration thing, I'd kind of be like, come on, Kendricks, that's a little dirty. But the fact that Claypool had to be stupid, I was fine with the little jerk move. But
Boy's a baller, but he's got a little growing up to do.
Vikings pick up the win, so I'm happy with it. Next up, we had a divisional matchup with the Falcons going to Carolina to take on the Panthers and picking up a win in a overall exciting game between 2 not overly marquee teams.
No, divisional matchup, just two teams kind of fighting for pride, really.
Yeah.
The Falcons, they say, are still in the hunt, but I don't know.
With how crazy the NFC 7 spot is,
I mean, it's
They
possible.
are.
They definitely are, but
they're only like a game behind.
yeah, 6 and 7. And
Yeah.
the leader 7, or the 7 spot is 7 and 6. So
Yeah.
we got a chance there. Cam Newton kept getting benched, or keeps getting benched, I guess. I don't know why they didn't just use him as the gadget player, the red zone guy, and start P.J. Walker. I thought P.J. Walker did really good in his first game starting, and then they immediately switched to Newton.
Yeah.
Even though I think that, like I said, that combo of P.J. Walker being the full-time quarterback with Newton coming in and being that red zone, because even though they know that he's trying to run it in, he's just so big and athletic, he still gets it most of the time. So
Yeah.
I think they should have did that. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah. I didn't.
as a full-time quarterback, Cam Newton isn't doing so well.
No, I
He seemed
didn't.
better in doses than as a full plate.
I didn't get to watch this game. All I really saw was Chuba Hubbard got a touchdown, which I always like to see. But yeah, seemed like a good game by the Falcons. Next up, we had another divisional matchup with the Raiders heading to. Oh, sorry, we're actually going to leave that till later. That's my fault. I seem to be struggling with not doing quick kicks recently.
Yeah, I know. You even have them
But
marked
we
which
do.
ones are which.
We do have another divisional matchup with the Ravens heading to Cleveland to take on the Browns, and the Browns pick up a overall surprising win. Lamar Jackson goes down with an ankle injury early, and then Myles Garrett pretty much just bullied Tyler Huntley throughout the rest of the game, and that's about the script of what happened.
Although Cleveland tried to beat Minnesota, and they almost let Baltimore come
They
back.
almost let him
They
even win
almost
Tyler
let
Huntley.
him come back. They got an onside kick and got within 2, but weren't able to completely pull off the comeback. There was no clock management celebrations for
No.
Baltimore. Just
no,
too
no arrow
little, too late.
celebrations.
Nope, just too little, too late on that one. That was all that was.
Yeah, I know we bag on Lamar Jackson a lot, but it does suck to see him go down. You hate to see a team lose their starting quarterback.
Yeah, it's never good, and now he's probably gonna go into Green Bay, or Green Bay's coming in next week to Baltimore, and they're probably not gonna have him. Or if they play him, he'll be less than 100%. So
yeah, I'll be interested to see, since he is such that mobile and kind of relies on the run so much. I'll be interested to see how long they let him rest that ankle injury. Next up, we have another divisional matchup with the Cowboys heading to Washington to take on the football team. And the Cowboys take home the win, but again, in kind of Minnesota style, had
Yeah.
a huge lead and then almost blew it at the end. But were able to hold on. Seemed to be the theme of this week, blowing leads but still holding on.
24-0 at one point,
Yeah,
and they came back and they ended up winning it 27-20. So the score looked a lot closer than it really was, but it was 24-0 through the third quarter.
Yeah.
So
Micah Parsons pretty much led that team the entire game.
Micah Parsons is getting MVP considerations. I just want you to know that I was talking about Micah Parsons as one of the greatest defensive players long before the NFL seemed to realize it, because
He is a beast,
and
man.
I said it.
We gotta watch his longevity, though. I really liked him, too, but my big thing was I hate guys with those reoccurring off-field issues, because it's so hard for them to get away from
He's
it.
got off-field issues?
Doesn't he? Yeah.
Does he? I didn't think he's not
That
anything terrible.
Not anything overly bad, but they were reoccurring.
Yeah.
They happen on multiple different occasions.
Well, yeah, because he's.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. I think it was just campus stuff. I don't think it was anything.
It's hard
with
to break
police.
that habit, though, still.
Mm-hmm.
But I really do like him. He's been playing well. Heineke had the heart to get back in it, but just couldn't finish it.
No, actually, it was Kyle Allen.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I
got
didn't
hurt. It was Kyle Allen that led the comeback.
I didn't get to watch all that game.
Which
so
I don't
just
even know
assumed
who all it was, because scary, fast Terry McLaurin went out with a concussion. Didn't even score me any points in fantasy. And then, Heineke got hurt either the second or third quarter. I can't remember, and he didn't even come back.
So the replacement's stepping up.
Yeah, it was Kyle Allen that almost led the comeback.
I like it. That's funny. But ultimately, Cowboys pick up the win. Next up, we had an overtime thriller with the Bills heading to Tampa Bay to take on the Bucks. Bucks outlast the Bills in, again, a blown lead that became a comeback but was held off.
I quit watching this game.
This one had to go all the way into overtime, and I heard a
24-3.
I heard a stat during this game that Tom Brady's touchdown throw to Brashad Perriman to seal the game in overtime was the first overtime touchdown throw by Tom Brady since 2003. I think, I'm like 90% sure that's what I heard that stat was. Not his first game winning, but his first overtime game winning.
Overtime game winning.
Touchdown.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, that one's correct. It was to Deion Branch in 2003.
Which is just
I can't remember who it was against.
to me.
But I know it was to Deion Branch in 2003.
Yeah, that was just crazy to hear because, Tom Brady has such a storied career that you think there'd be less than a 17-year gap than the last time you sealed the game in overtime. But, I mean, when you got Gronkowski your whole life.
Gostowski?
God,
The kicker?
I cannot pronounce that guy's name ever. I fail every time. But yeah, when you got him your whole career, you don't really need to throw touchdowns. You just got to get in field goal range in overtime.
I didn't know if you were talking about Gostowski or Gronkowski.
No,
Gronk
the
had
kicker.
another 2 touchdowns. Also, this is Brady's. Let me do the math here because he's been in the league for 100 years. This is Brady's. So from 03 to 17 straight 10-win season. His worst season was in 2002. His third ever season and the first season after the first Super Bowl, he went 9-7.
Ooh.
That's been his worst
record. What a rough year.
And missed the playoffs that year in 2002. But yeah, ever since then he's had 10 or more wins every season. So no, I think it's 16, but not straight because he had that ACL year.
Yeah.
So, but still,
That's
either way,
crazy.
whether it's straight or whether it's the fact that he's had 16, 17, 18, 10 plus win seasons, and his worst ever has been a 9-7. That just goes to speak to how good he is. Even back then, didn't even know it.
Gotta have respect for him. But yeah, the Bills really came charging back. Josh Allen got his shit together, to say the least. Had over 300 passing
Josh
yards,
Allen
over
pulled
100
the
rushing
Greg
yards.
Jennings and put the team on his back, Madden style, running down with a broken leg. I mean, he had 100 yards rushing, 300. Did he have 300 yards passing?
I just said that.
Did you? Oh,
Yeah.
my bad. I was shouting too much.
No, he did. He did get a little banged up on one of his runs, but was able to keep going and pick up or get the comeback for his team, but not pick up the win. Next up, we go back to the divisional matchups with the Bears heading to Green Bay to take on the Packers, and really showing up in the first half, and then promptly leaving in the second half.
Yes, they did. They did an interview with Nagy in the second half, or before this, in halftime, and he said, We're having a lot of fun out there. And Green Bay said, well, I'm glad you had fun in the first half. We're going to kick your ass in the second half. Outscored them 24-3 in the second half. I mean, gee whiz. We even gave them an onside kick. Our special teams is awful. I will say that. I don't know what else to do about them.
Your special teams struggled to say the least. And the
multiple
Bears,
special teams miscues.
And also, you had the miscues, but the Bears special teams coordinator should be the front runner for their head coaching position, at least the interim head coaching position, because he's been killing it this season.
And he was the one who won that game for him when Nagy had COVID.
Yeah.
So yeah,
they've
had the wrong coach this whole time.
He seemed to be
He's
the
just
bright
been
spot
sitting
on that coaching staff.
The guru's been sitting on the coaching staff the whole time. They're just looking over him because he's a special teams coach.
But I mean, there's not much to say about this game other than that's the story exactly. Great first half, fun first half to watch, and then just nothing the second half.
Yeah.
It looked like
it was a lot of fun for me.
It looked like how it should have been the whole game in the second half.
Yeah. So
Packers pick up the big divisional win in that one.
Mm-hmm. So they can win the North next week with a W in Baltimore.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, we got another divisional matchup with the Rams heading to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. And the Rams, in true NFC West fashion, continuing the trend of winning the games that they shouldn't in that division. Callan was spot on when he said it a few weeks ago. Every time the team should lose in that divisional matchup, they win. Mm-hmm. It's just the craziest thing. On paper, the Cardinals were getting Kyler back. They're getting D-Hop back. They should have just dominated the Rams with this poor streak of play that they've had. But then the Rams just came out and balled out. The Cardinals, again, almost came back early, a little bit borderline blowout, and then the Cardinals came back but couldn't seal the game, and the Rams picked up the win.
Yeah, and the Cardinals got an onside kick there were 4 successful onside kicks this week, just this weekend alone. There's only been 4 successful ones all season. So they doubled the amount of successful onside kicks in 1 week for the whole season. All 4 of those teams lost. I think that's the most bizarre thing of the week. Really, just because of not only does the success rate of onside kicks so low, but then the teams that got them all lost. Usually if you got one, that means that you probably completed a comeback.
You got that.
Not one of the 4 were able to get it and complete the comeback.
That's so crazy. That's borderline head slap of the week right there.
Right? And no, it was almost like, what?
I mean,
I
none
said
of them picked
at
up
the
a win?
beginning of the week when the first 3 field goals were missed by the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Minnesota Vikings, I said this is gonna be a wacky kicking week. It was.
It
just
wasn't
not
a way.
even in the way
Yeah.
we expected. Because then it kind of settled down on the field goal side, but all the other crazy special team stuff started happening.
Just completely went everywhere. That's so funny, but yeah, I mean, that's big for the Packers. They picked up the divisional win, and the Cardinals dropped the divisional loss.
Green Bay's now the number 1
Are you the 1 seed now?
Control our own destiny. If we win out, playoffs go through Lambeau.
Yeah.
It's in our hands.
That's pretty good. That felt nice for you. And then finally, before we get to our quick kicks this week, we got the 49ers who went to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. And yeah, again, a blowout. Kind of a blowout at least. Turned into a comeback.
Yeah, what was it, 17-3?
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't
a true blowout, but it was a healthy lead that the Bengals very quickly erased, but then still ended up losing. The Niners end up picking up a win in another overtime game. Man, I trust the Bengals every week to help out the Vikings or me in some way. And they just always let me down. I'm going to have to stop picking them.
Yeah.
They always let me down. We needed them to pick up that win. The Vikings did. And it was a great game to watch. They almost did. Jamar Chase returned to a little bit of his form of the first few games and balled
took
out
over
that
the
game
in the second half.
T. Higgins also had over 100 yards receiving and played really well. But the Niners were just too much for them.
They probably would have won the Bengals if not for George Kittle. Kittle's just
Kittle
is an animal. He had over 160 yards receiving.
I want to say it was 151.
150? I knew it was over 150 at the very least. 1 or 2 touchdowns. It seemed like he should have had all of them.
At least 1, if not 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't know the exact stat, but he was huge in that game. But the overall best player was Jimmy Garoppolo. And without Jimmy Garoppolo, there's no way the Niners are even in that game.
If you listen to the announcers that game, they are all sucking off Jimmy Garoppolo every chance they get. And I just don't get it because maybe it's some sort of bias I have towards him, or I don't know what it is, because I don't really have a known bias towards him. But I just don't get it. I don't think he's that good of a quarterback, and it seems like everyone else does. I mean, when you have the receiving weapons he does, and you're just throwing dink and dunks around the field, I don't get how everyone says he's such a best quarterback. I heard one announcer, I can't remember who it was, it might have been Terry Bradshaw, I'm not positive on that though, so don't quote me, who said he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league at throwing easy passes. But he said that was like a good thing, and I was like, what? That doesn't make sense. Like,
that reminds me of when Kornheiser was on the Monday Night Football broadcast with Joe Theismann, and he kept giving Theismann shit for being the best holder. And like Theismann took it proudly, but you could tell Kornheiser was trying to be sarcastic and tease him, like, "Oh yeah, Joe, you were the greatest holder, weren't you?" And he'd be like, "Yeah, I was really good at it. They had me do it for a lot of years, but it was kind of like that. Like, I couldn't tell if he was being sarcastic and trying to be funny, or if he was being serious. But I think he was being serious. I think that announcer really did think that Jimmy G is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, even if he is just at doing easy throws.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's bad by any means, but I just don't get some of the overhype.
I'd say above average. I don't think he's in that superstar tier with Brady and Rodgers and Stafford, but I think I'd say he's B.
I wouldn't even say
B
he's
plus.
Elite level.
No, I'm saying B
Cal,
plus.
Yeah, Cal and I were talking, and we kind of agreed that he's in the same category as Kirk Cousins, to kind of relate it back to us. But Kirk Cousins is like definitely ahead of him in that category. That kind of makes sense.
They're both above average, below average superstars. But yes, if in the rankings in that spot,
I think Cousins always
is
goes ahead.
above
Yeah.
Jimmy G. I would say, even though Garoppolo has gotten to the NFC. Yeah, but he was carried by the defense, the running game.
Yeah, I don't know how
when
much
it was
I
on him
count.
to win the game, he couldn't. So
Him getting to the Super Bowl and Joe Flacco winning the Super Bowl
right,
are kind of on the same level.
What do you
to
throw?
me
What do you
because
throw? 20 total passes
throughout the whole playoff run?
Yeah, up until the Super Bowl, and that's because our teams allowed that to happen.
And then he had his easy chance to win the Super Bowl and overthrew that guy. So
what
I
was
mean,
that, Emmanuel Sanders, I think. Oh man.
Again, I think that sums it up perfectly. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I just don't think he's as good as people give him credit for. So now, moving on to our quick kicks, the game that I almost started earlier. We'll start off with a divisional matchup with the Raiders going to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs, and the Chiefs just absolutely dominated, and I don't have much else to say. It was just embarrassing.
In pregame, the Raiders went and stomped on the Chiefs logo at midfield. The whole team gathered there and was jumping around on them, and that just seemed to piss off the Chiefs, and they went and scored them. It's like 48-10 was the final.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the game, the Chiefs on the PA system played Wheels on the Bus Go Round and Round. They really did. That's not even a joke. They really did.
That's savage.
I know. So,
I'm not saying Chiefs are back by any means.
No,
but
they got some respect points there for not only defending their turf, but then also sending them out in a perfect send-off song.
Just savage way. Yeah, I'm not saying they're back by any means, but they definitely looked like they returned to form a little bit. Next up, we had another divisional matchup with the Jags heading to Tennessee to take on the Titans. And this one wasn't even necessarily a blowout per se, at least Chiefs level blowout, because they only scored 20 points, but I mean, they shut out the Jags.
20-0,
so, yeah.
The Jags just look like they've completely have given up and checked out on Urban Meyer. Yeah. Which it's hard to take him serious if all those reports are true. You can look up about him fighting with Marvin Jones and calling out assistant coaches.
I'll pop up a picture on screen right now, and you can pause it if you'd like. But that's all the reports that we've seen so far of what he's done. So
it's reported. He denied it all. Which,
did he deny it all?
Which of course you have. I don't know. You have to almost.
Yeah.
I don't know what else.
Some of that stuff seems pretty Urban Meyer-y for what he's done this season, so I wouldn't be too surprised.
Yeah.
But yep, the Titans pick up a pretty needed win there.
For them, it was a get-right game.
Yep. Moving on, we had the Saints go to New York to take on the Jets, and just pretty handily beat them. I mean, Alvin Kamara came back and really balled out that game. The Jets looked nothing like they did last week. I know they didn't win last week, but they played pretty damn well overall and just could not remake that, and the Saints took advantage of it.
Jeff Wilson looked good at quarterback, at least.
Oh, it's Jeff Wilson
now? We're changing it up.
He dropped to even a lower tier? Wow. That's rough.
We're just going to throw different first names in front of Wilson. When he has good games, that'll be Zach Wilson.
Then he will be Zach Wilson outside of that.
But every time he has a below average game, it's just some other guy out there. I don't know who they're...
God, I'd like to see him do decent, but he just doesn't.
He did okay, I feel like. Kamara came back and just totally dominated that game.
I mean, he finished the game well, but he went into half with just over 100 passing yards, and you can't do that in today's league. You just can't win that way. Next up, we had what was our London game of the week last week, the Seahawks going to the Texans. And it was pretty close throughout most of the game, but the Seahawks pulled away towards the end. Mm-hmm. Russell Wilson really looked like he's starting to return to form a little bit. He looked much better than he has been since returning from the injury. And we got to see one of his classic skyball touchdowns to Tyler Lockett, which I'm not a huge Russell Wilson fan by any means, but I love to see those plays.
It was 20-9 there for a little while, kind of close, and then Seattle pulled away. He's finally starting to get that reconnection with his receivers, Russell Wilson, but it's really taken a lot longer than I thought for him to get that chemistry back with Lockett and especially Metcalf. Metcalf's hardly had an impact since Russell Wilson's been back.
I've noticed
which
that.
is really weird, but he's got it rebuilt with Lockett. Maybe now Metcalf is next, and playing the Texans, just like for the Titans, was quite a good get-right game, I think, for the Seahawks.
Yep. Next up, we had the Giants go to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers, and the Chargers pretty handily won again. So, not a ton to say about this game. I didn't really get to watch much of this game. I did get to see one highlight of Herbert throwing one of his 50-plus in the air yard passing touchdowns.
Right before halftime. 60 plus.
God, that guy's got a
60 yards in the air.
God.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I gave
cannon.
Herbert a lot of crap last year since he was up against Justin Jefferson for Rookie of the Year all year. But now that I've got to watch him with a little more of an unbiased view this season, God, I got a lot of respect for that guy. I think he's almost under talked about this season.
Yeah, he's definitely talented. He's got the arm talent, and I think that with the right coaching and right team around him, he'll do really good. And it's young. He's got a young team around him and a young coaching staff. So we'll have to see how if they can all grow together. But and the one thing I want to say about this is last week when we recorded, at that time, Jake Fromm was on schedule to start, but then Glennon got cleared.
Oh,
and they started Glennon. So of course,
like I said, I didn't get to watch this game. But.
So I picked the Giants thinking Jake Fromm starting. You're gonna have Jake Fromm energy out there, and they had Glennon
Fromm energy. Didn't realize that was the thing.
I don't know. You hype him up. You had me sold on.
I hyped him up. I used to hype him up. I don't.
That's who you wanted Green Bay to pick over J-Lo.
I liked him, but I mean, he just hasn't done anything. We haven't got to see him.
We haven't got to see him yet. They should have threw him out there.
And then finally for this week, we got the Lions who went to Denver to take on the Broncos, and the Broncos pick up a win. And I'll let Callan explain why, because he made a good point before we started.
We said that once MCDC was going to win, that he wasn't going to lose again. But of course, in typical Lions fashion, they get a win. And what happens? The next team they face, unfortunately, Demaryius Thomas passes away. So they get to play against the Broncos in the tragedy game. And
a tragedy game is just an automatic loss in the NFL. There's nothing
for the other team. Yeah, it's an automatic W for the team with the tragedy, which it was a terrible thing. I think it's reported that DT had a seizure and a heart attack, so it was just a fluke medical issue. Terrible, and they did the best they could to honor him. And poor Detroit. Of course, they get a win and run right into the train.
They benefited from the tragedy game. Last week, though, with the Vikings, they had the Oxford High tragedy game.
Right.
So, I mean...
Oh, yeah.
You
game.
Yeah. You give and you get. It happens, but it's a reoccurring theme. It's a true thing. Tragedy games are automatic wins. I don't know what it is, but... So, that was our NFL Week 14 recap. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, don't forget...
to eat the W.